morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Ah, it's so nice to be back. Hi, guys. Welcome to Tea Time with your balanced lady boss, Stacy. I'm so thrilled to be back online. Gosh, I took a hiatus for a moment there. Took a little bit of a hiatus. Hi, guys. Hi. I'm so thrilled to be back online, and I am excited about this space that we are creating. Hi, Portia, that we're creating called Tea Time. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm creating this space. First and foremost, because we start everything with intention. I have my intention cards. Start everything with intention. I just have been feeling the need to have a conversation about the things that are deep within our hearts, the things that trouble us that we don't necessarily discuss, which is a lot of what I do in my podcast, right? And morning, Sam. And I think it's been an interesting few months this year. And before this, we were in the pandemic. We came out of the pandemic. And a lot of my friends, just tons of my friends, are talking about how their lives are transitioning and all the different things that are in their heart space. And I feel that we have a lot of shows, but we don't really get to the heart of the matter. We don't really get to what people are actually feeling and thinking, and then actually provide access to solutions. It's always go, and being on top of your game. And sometimes you just need to take a moment and sit with yourself and just breathe, just exhale for a minute and just have some real talk about what's really going on, right? So, this is what that space is for. This space is for us to have some real talk and to share about what's going on in your world. I'm going to share what's been going on in my week. And my target is to show up here weekly and have this chat, right? Make sure you carry your tea or your coffee. Why is it tea time? Over the summer, guys, if you remember, over the summer, I had started this thing where I had gone out one Saturday night and got like drank too much. And then in the morning, I was just talking about the experience of that. How now that I'm becoming a little bit more mature, I can't just run in and party and drink up and then wake up the next morning. I was feeling very popped down. And so I was talking about it in my stories. And then the next weekend, something else happened. And then when I was going to Beyonce, it was like, okay, let me just keep having a conversation with my community. And I realized how much I enjoyed it. And so I said, you know what? Let's just do a show on Saturdays and we'll call it tea time. And whoever can take a pause and get their cuppa, whatever makes your morning feel good, like you're having a warm cup of joy. Yeah, you bring that, I will come, I will have a quick chat. So I'm going to pull an intention card to start today. I know what I want to talk about because I happened to be in Jamaica when the earthquake landed. Hello. So we're definitely talking about that this morning, right? And I want to start by pulling an intention card and kind of seeing what comes up. All right, so this is a nice one. I choose to celebrate. That's what the card is for today. And the affirmation says, I keep in mind and take the time to be joyous about the small and big accomplishments in my life and the lives of others. Oh my gosh, so relevant, so relevant. So today we're going to talk about the different things that emotions, conversations that I had coming out of the earthquake, right? I am not always on the island because, as y'all know, I'm Jamaican. So I spend my time in America and then I spend my time in Jamaica, but that's okay. But the last couple of earthquakes that happened, I was not on the island. So that's part of the thing that also totally freaked me out, right? Um, they had an earthquake here in September. I remember because it was the same week of my birthday. It was September 21st. My birthday is the 24th. I was not here. I was in Atlanta. And then they had one before that in June. I was not here then either. I was in Miami at the time. And let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something. Just being away and hearing about it was enough. Being away and hearing about it was enough. right? Because you feel like, you're checking on the kids. How are you feeling? Are you afraid? What's going on in your space? What's happening in your world? Like, that was the whole kind of experience I was having, the whole kind of vibe, right? And then when I was here, it was a little bit different. 1 minute. Miss Felicia? Yeah, it was a little bit different when I was here, right? Let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, it's not like a hurricane that's coming, where when the hurricane is arriving, you kind of know because you'd have been watching it, all the forecasting and all of the extra things that are happening, right? And no, that wasn't the situation. What the situation was is that you wake up in the morning and you're going about your business. My business on this wonderful Monday morning was to work on my daughter's transcripts, because one of my daughters is actually getting ready to go off to university. And so what that looked like was me getting up, going off about dropping the kids at school. So all of us, all of you that were on the island, or even if you weren't on the island, but you have family or friends that live here, right? You were like going about your business, which, it makes sense, right? You're going about your business. That's what you do. It's Monday. So, you're kind of in that frame of mind, like, got to get the hustle on, and you're going, right? Now, I was heading to her old high school. She's going to a different high school now, right? I moved her right around when the pandemic was happening. So here are the tea. I had asked for this transcript from in the pandemic time, right? I've been trying to get this transcript because I know college is coming up. So you have to kind of prepare from as far in advance as possible. So asked for the transcript, can't get the transcript. Thought the transcript came, getting phone calls from the school, no transcript. So let's just think about this, right? College applications are due like the next couple of days. So I'm going up to this school and I'm not happy. You ever have those mornings where like you're just not so happy, right? You're not in your best frame of mind. Okay. And this is your balance, lady boss, who have affirmation card and everything. But I was a little annoyed, to say the least, because I feel like if I ask you to provide a service, like, and I ask you again and again, and I check and I can't get through when I call, like, it can kind of put you on a little edge. And maybe even in your mind, you're not quite like present to your upset. Okay. So if you have one of those mornings and you can relate, you can send me a little snap or 100 or something, but you're not quite your centered self. Okay. So this is me now heading up to the school, not quite my centered self. I get there and they're having a fire drill. Like, there's a whole bunch of fire trucks and everything because there's like a whole display, and the fire marshal is there. So it's bare excitement happening in the school. That is the first place, right? So they're having a big assembly. So I'm here thinking to myself, oh gosh, how am I going to even get in to talk out to them, to get the conversation going, whatever. Finally, assembly ends and I get into the office, the bursar's office. And I start off by saying, I sent off, tried to get the transcript from the school, and I'm going down my story. And that the person on the other side, the head start to spin. And well, it's been how, like I get in this already. Oh my gosh. Has that happened to you? Where you got into a situation, you're already kind of on edge, but you're trying to contain yourself. And then you start to get the head twirling and the head spinning, right? Okay. So that was my reality that morning. So I'm literally in the bursar's office and I am having what I would consider a contained cuss off moment. This is where you're really being as polite as you can be, even though you're vexed. And in the moment, I could have used some tea, if I'm not telling you a lie, right? In the moment, I was not my most, how you say, coaching self. I was not my most authentic self, right? Okay. So here we go now. I'm having a restrained cuss off or a contained cuss off. I'm literally in my mind telling this lady all the things that are on my mind, but I'm holding it together and I'm breathing in and I'm doing all the things. And that is when the earthquake dropped. And let me just say, guys, I haven't experienced an earthquake in a little while. But I kind of thought that it would like shake and stop. But I found myself, I lost my balance. I had to be like trying to find the columns in the doorway to hold up. Like I was literally like crouching tiger, hidden dragon because I could not stand up straight. That's how much shaking was happening. All right. I was scared, like, whoa. You understand? I mean, when I say me freed, because not only was I thrown off balance and realizing, okay, we're in an earthquake. Let me tell you what was going on around me, right? Around me, I was in a school with hundreds of children. And the moment the shaking started, it was just screaming everywhere, screaming, running out of the classrooms. So let me tell you, all of the drills that you have, where you hear you must stay inside and get under cover, all of those things that went through the door. Kids were running out. Teachers were telling them at one point, it's like the teachers didn't know what to do. I think some teachers, maybe some started to tell them to go back in the classroom. Some were like running out. I mean, kids were crying, panicking. It was almost like what I would consider an amplifier. So if I was home alone, which I would have been on that day, if I was home alone, I would not have had the same experience that I had, because I would have been in my house. I would have been, yes, afraid for me, but I would have been more thinking about my kids and, oh my gosh, is everybody okay? I'd have been thinking about my love partner, wondering, trying to make sure that I can get on the phone as soon as this is done. That would have kind of been it. But being in the space with everybody else's children, I'm talking hundreds of kids, it was like a level of fear that I had not experienced before, ever in my life. And what became very present to me, aside from the fact that, oh my gosh, this thing is not stopping, you could feel the building was actually moving, right? And these are old buildings, on the island, these are old buildings. Aside from that, I couldn't even, my mind was just like everywhere, because I'm just, you hear in the cars on the road, because people in cars were feeling it. That's how powerful this earthquake was, right? Why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because in that moment, the only thing I cared about was living. The only thing I cared about was life. The only thing I cared about was everybody being okay. You see, all of the content cuts off. Remember, we started out with me being totally off center, feeling like, say, I'm going to just jump over the counter and strangle this woman because of this transcript drama, right? I was contained in my head. I was cussing and I'm breathing and huffing and puffing, right? And then the earthquake. And in that moment, I was snatched back to the present moment like nobody's business. It was like the ultimate drape up for life. And it kind of took me back to when I was sitting in the doctor's office and they were like, yeah, you have cancer. It's like these ultimate drape up moments that make you realize, we call it in Jamaica, for those of you who are not Jamaican, because I know I have a wide audience. Drape up is when somebody does this to you, right? And it brings you to attention. It's these moments in life where it's like you just brought back to this moment now. And what it reminded me of was how much we get caught up in our heads, in the past, in the future, in what we're upset about, in what we haven't done yet, in what we are supposed to be doing, in who make we vex, in who we want to get back at. Like, that's literally how our minds, that's the mind trip that you end up on. And it really takes us away from the gift that is everyday life, that you can get up and you can breathe. I thought about later in the day, I was thinking about Haiti, who can't seem to just get some proper aid. They've just been through a rough time. And I thought about earthquakes to the point where their buildings are falling down, and what that must feel like, and how to live in that constant set state of fear. We are so blessed, and we take it, when we think about life, we take life for granted a lot. And that was what was really presencing for me, is that this story of intentional living that I really believe in is something that is really very pertinent for everybody. And we should all have a practice of living with intention. Like, I came away from that experience feeling even more grounded in my beliefs and more grounded in what I want my purpose to be, right? And of course, after the shaking stopped, and you saw all these kids, I mean, there was crying, panic attacks, asthma attack, like, people were just, the kids were scared, the teachers, some of the teachers were scared. I turned back to look into the office to find the lady that I was in my contained cuss off moment with. And she wasn't even in the building. Like, I don't know when she landed outside on the emergency lawn area, but she was gone. Like, it was in a second before even the kids got outside. She was outside. Okay. Like, in the emergency gathering spot. Right. And I was just really present to um, how much fear. And I saw somebody, I think, Sam, you said trauma, Marsha, I see you're saying scary, scary, and persons who were away and trying to call, they couldn't get through. So it's like you're trying to call to see if your loved ones are okay, and the phone lines are jammed. And then the electricity is gone, right? They shut off the grid because I guess they have to assess damage. So traffic outside is crazy, gridlock. So it literally is just utter and complete chaos. And in the midst of all that chaos, guys, I tell you, I kid you not, I was just sitting down in this space of mixed emotions where I was feeling fear, I was feeling gratitude, I was feeling very present and drawn to this moment, like just really drawn to this moment, and I could not express how I was feeling. Now, what was really cool, guys, I mean, I guess maybe not so cool, but what was interesting is the emotion that came after that. So I had fear, I was scared, but I was very present and very, like, feeling that sense of gratitude. Oh my God, I'm alive. I finally got to check in with my kids and everybody was okay. Checked in with my love partner and he was okay. And we were doing that whole thing. What came present to me after that was a bit of agitation. It's like I started to try to make dinner and I started to try to get back into meetings. It's like I wanted to distract myself from all the different emotions that were coming at me from the different people. So I was afraid. I was wanting to get back to normal so I could move on from it, because that's my personality. My personality is, okay, let's just keep going, and I didn't want to sit with it. I didn't want to sit with what had happened. I didn't want to sit with the experience that I was feeling. I didn't want to feel my feelings. And so many of us don't take the time to feel our feelings. If you're going through something traumatic in your life or through an experience that's really difficult, you want to push past it and just rush through. And it doesn't serve you, because there is wisdom in the emotion. Right? There is wisdom in the emotion. It's actually trying to speak to you. It's trying to tell you something. So in that moment where I was having the fear response, I will say that my instinct got me into position. I actually remained calm. I wasn't screaming and losing it. I actually did move into finding, strong columns, standing beneath a doorway. I mean, granted, I was doing it like a kung fu ninja because it was shaking and I couldn't move properly, right? But I did find my bearings like that. That fear emotion, when I started to, like, pay attention to it, I was afraid for my life. I was afraid that I wasn't going to get to see my kids. So I started to be curious about what the fear was about, you know. Um, and then when I started to have the anxiety later on in the day, what I got clear on when I picked a fight with my love partner, because he came home and I just start pick fight with him. Hey, Mish, morning. I was just very like on edge. Like he was asking me a question and I was just snapping back. This is the first person, by the way, this is the first time I'm encountering somebody after the whole thing, right? So he comes home with one group of children, right? Because he had so much chaos and gridlock on the road, he took home some friends of one of our daughters. So we had like a whole bunch of kids in the house that weren't all our kids, right? And I was just on edge, you know. And so in that moment when he came home, I wasn't just like running into his arms and oh my gosh, no, I was cussing. I was annoyed. I was picking a fight. And for some of us, that may have happened as well. And maybe we didn't even realize that it's because we were anxious coming out of the earthquake experience and feeling that fear and having that anxiety afterwards, especially if you were feeling aftershock. You may not have been able to place that anxiety or that concern. You may not have been able to place that with what was actually happening, right? So when he came home and we were, he recognized where I was. Thankfully, he's also a coach. He recognized where I was, and so he started to ask me questions, and he was being very accommodating because he knows how to stay. He knows how I am, right? And then he asked me. He said, "Okay, now that we've done that, would you like a hug?" And it was like the best hug ever in history because I was so pent up and tense and my neck and my back and because my kids weren't home yet, right? So the girls weren't home yet and I was just feeling this intense anxiousness and, pent up energy. So that was another learning that you're not necessarily going to feel fear. You might feel like you need to get into action mode, which comes from some type of, that's the adrenaline, like you need to actually move the adrenaline through you. And so because you have all this adrenaline from the shock of the earthquake and feeling this, not being able to control yourself or your environment, and you're like stuck in that trauma in that moment, and it's like fight or flight, that energy is still in your body. It's still in there. And it's like what I should have done when I came home is I should have drawn for the cup of tea and taken a moment to just sit and just be with whatever the feelings were. Some of us were panicking, like while I was still at the school, parents were lining up in cars outside. I saw this one woman come out of our car because they weren't letting anybody in or out right after it happened. And I saw this one woman come out of her car and she was at the gate with the security like this. And you could see the fear in her eyes, in her facial expression, in her whole body, right? And the security guard was trying to explain to her why they weren't kind of letting people in and out. Because you can imagine the kids are scared, parents are scared. This is hundreds of people you're talking about. That could create even more chaos, utter pandemonium. So parents were lining up outside and it was just a lot of that kind of chaos and confusion. And so that energy is in your body and you're trying to process it. For those of us who actually realize that we have stuff going on and we're trying to process it. For others, you don't even realize it. You're just kind of dealing with all of this stuff. Some of us vex because we had a meeting and the meeting canceled, right? So I thought, you know what? We really need to start having these conversations. We really need to just help persons to understand and distill the emotion. We need to recognize how much of a gift life is. And if it's just these few minutes that you take with me on a Saturday morning for us to set an intention, today we're celebrating life and small accomplishments. That's the card that we pulled today. Because you just don't know. You just don't know when any kind of natural disaster that is not going to give you a warning. It's not like earthquake. Say, yeah, come in tomorrow at 10:57 a.m. That's not what happens. And sometimes when you are moving along in life, I had a car accident recently, a couple of months ago. I had a car accident. Car accidents are another thing that they happen like that. You don't plan for it. You're going along your way, right? So we have to really be intentional about living every day to its fullest. So as you're going into your weekend, you want to be intentional about all the different times that you're interacting with people. When you're getting into a situation with somebody where you feel like you may not be your best self, like me. If you remember, I was saying to you that I was in cuss off mode when I was at the school because I wanted my transcript for my child. Going to university, we need a transcript. Why is it taking 2 years? Right? And I was upset. Okay. I was upset and I was trying to coach myself down from the upset. Right. Um, and the earthquake brought me back to center. The earthquake was like, girl, you majoring in the minors. The time that you're spending your emotion on upset, you could just be like waiting patiently, having the conversation, expressing your concern, but not getting into this emotional state that's not really going to help you to actually get the thing that you're after. And in life, I think we do that so many times. I think we spend so much time caught up with emotions and not just trying to understand what the emotion is trying to teach us or trying to show us. Maybe you are a person who gets upset often and you just feel right about your upset and you've never taken a moment to pause and think about how you are showing up in the world and why things keep happening to you that create upset. Maybe you are the center of all of that drama, right? So, coming out of that earthquake moment, not only did I have the lessons from my experience, but then just observing and experiencing others, right? I told you when my love partner offered me the hug after I was just snapping at him because of, no, of course, now I have all this anxiety and this is the first person I'm coming in contact with. After that, I was just looking at my phone, seeing how many people were not on the island and were also experiencing anxiety because they can't get through to their loved ones or they're worried about what could have happened or, you know, did something happen to your house, you know, whatever. So you had other person's emotions and stuff that you're dealing with. And if you think about it, you know, every single day, whether there's an earthquake or not an earthquake, you have other person's emotions that you're dealing with. The upset boss, the upset husband or wife, you know, the kids, them were upset all the time. There's just always something for you to interface with. And so it's really important for you to try to bring yourself back to center. It's like having your own personal shakeup where you're just like, you know, let me just get myself together. You don't need an earthquake to bring you back to present or a car accident to bring you back to present or somebody telling you that you have some kind of illness. That's a practice that you can put in place for yourself and it will do nothing but serve you. You'll find yourself having more moments of ease and peace of mind. People talk about this soft life thing. That's all soft life is, you know, it's just having more ease and peace of mind because you're paying attention to your emotions, you're paying attention to your thoughts. And the more you're able to put that a habit or put that into practice, the better off you're going to be in the long run. So, guys, that's my time. Wasn't this good? That's my time. Next week, we'll see what happens in the course of the week because whole heap of things always are going on in this world that we live in. You can't miss it. But I'll be here on Saturday morning for tea or coffee, whatever is your cup of joy. And I want us to distill this stuff. Bring whatever it is that you are carrying on your heart so that we can distill it, so that we can wade through the emotional warfare that is in many cases holding a lot of us back from going after our dreams and just sucking the life out of us, sucking the energy out of us. It doesn't have to be that way. Not at all. Deserve to experience the life that you want. And we are going to explore that one cup of tea at a time.